I'm talking with Thomas Anderson, producer extraordinaire. He's worked both sides of the fence, from production to agency side, I dare say client. He's a triple threat. He's Thomas Anderson.
Hey, everybody. How are you? That was a good intro.
Thanks, man.
Extraordinaire.
Did we meet on the corn thing?
You know, we've met before. I think I might have bid you way back, and you know, those were probably in the days when we didn't see each other on Zooms.
Yeah, there was. The
know.
Skype people really dropped the ball. They could have had this thing
Exactly.
cornered from 2005 on.
Exactly. I think I bid you on some Taco Bell back in the day when I was at Foot Cone and Belding.
Oh, yeah, I did
Maybe a
bid it.
couple times.
2007, I remember.
Yeah, so it was ways back. Besides that, the next probably main thing besides seeing you at events and stuff was the corn thing. And I hear you use the corn thing in your filmmaker retreat.
I did.
An example of something?
Did I tell you that?
No, it was I think it was Johnny Michael.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Johnny Michael's a wonderful director and a creative down in Miami. And yeah, at the retreat last year, I showed a snippet of this pitch for the listeners. It's actually in the How to Pitch course too. A snippet of the first time I pitched you guys, because like the LED wall was new.
Yeah.
I had not properly prepped the communication between myself and my team, who were surprised to hear, like, there's no way we can do that spot. And I said, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. So that was it. I use it as a demonstration of you as the directors need to communicate with your team what you're going to pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it was also a good example of and maybe it's every year I've worked in this business, but it's particularly the last 10, and I'm sure you would agree, like just challenging budgets and understanding a script and sort of picking it apart and finding a solution for it, which I think you did wonders with it. So it was great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the spots turned out great. You did not produce you were on that initial call, and then you said on the pitch, you go, I won't be producing. I'm here until.
Yeah. I was not on set. I was actually all the way up through, and then actually, I think it was not even a main producer from that agency. It was just sort of the creatives and the team and stuff like that.
Is that weird? That's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty unusual. I think it's not always unusual. I think that was sort of pandemic time, and there was a little bit of oddness. And I think some producers, like I was on a project at that point, I took on that project sort of fractionally, if I can use that oft-used word now.
Yeah.
Produced it through a certain point, and then not being on set was not my intention, other than I think I had another shoot that was happening at the same time.
Are you a mercenary, a gun for hire with a cold attitude toward, like, you don't care, or do you like to see it all the way through to completion?
Yeah, I think I'm the opposite of a mercenary. I like collaborating. I mean, I'm a freelance producer currently, and always searching for a lot of different types of options, and have my production company as well. But yeah, my enjoyment is collaboration and camaraderie with everyone, and camaraderie with the team, the creative team, and the director, obviously, eventually, and the production company, and all the way up to the client and the account people and strategy. And when I started in my career, it was probably like kind of throw the baby in the bathwater. I had been in production in Minnesota, sort of throw the baby in the hot bathwater and see if you can swim, kind of thing.
Right. How did you come about coming up in Minnesota?
Yeah.
How did you get into production in the first place?
Well, I graduated from a school in Wisconsin, a small liberal arts school. I moved to Chicago.
What's that called?
Lawrence University.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And moved to Chicago. I mean, I was from Minneapolis, but I moved to Chicago initially. And as one does, you kind of know some people and you got an internship. And I think my first internship was at Campbell Methuen Estey, which was called CMEKHBB, one of the first longest acronyms for an agency back then. And
in Chicago.
In Chicago, yeah,
because I think of them as a Minneapolis agency.
Correct. So it was in Chicago.
Was there a connection from home?
Connection from home. I knew some people that went to a sort of a rival high school that I was friends with, and their family worked at the agency. And I loved Chicago too. My sister lived there, and I moved in with a couple buddies that were not from college with me, but friends from high school. And yeah, so that was my first entree into advertising. While I was there, I was an intern and I was kind of looking around everywhere. And as you know, and many know, Chicago's such a great place for advertising. And
Oh, especially that. Is this like mid
yeah,
late 90s?
yeah, it was late 90s. So
Yeah.
I was looking around and there's one story I like to tell. I was in an elevator. I was going to an interview at Leo Burnett, which is right there on the river there. And I went up for an interview for the account executive program, which was sort of famous at that point. I think I'm probably calling it the wrong name,
Yeah.
but famous at that point for Leo Burnett to have this account executive program. And I, went up these elevators, young kid, and went to the interview. And, I thought I did well. Then I got in the elevator
Oh boy.
going down after the interview.
And you over here.
And I know, and there's a bunch of people in the elevator and, regular stuff. And I recognized, I think it was Marshall Ross. I think I'm gonna get the name wrong, but it was like the head of everything creative at Leo Burnett at the time. And back then it was like you were reading Ad Age and Ad Week as an actual piece of print. And I was sort of obsessed with advertising so much that I kind of knew the names of people. So I introduced myself and said hello and kind of nice. And we had a chat all the way down the elevator. It was such a long elevator. It took a while, people in and out, in and out. And
Yeah.
that was back when Leo Burnett had Marlboro. And so you could kind of smell the smoke waft in a couple
Oh
of the
wow.
floors. Yeah, because they could smoke in the office.
I think they had to.
Yeah, I think they might have had to. And anyways, we had a good chat. And at the end, he said, I don't know, he had an opinion on me. And he said, I don't know, do you think you want to be an account person? And I go, well, that's what I'm interning for. And that's what I'm doing. And so it was interesting because he had an opinion, just said, well, maybe you should try the creative side. So, or an alternate thing, like,
Yeah.
so it stuck with me. It's a kind of a core memory. We jumped in a cab. He said, where are you going? I'll take you wherever you need to go. Jumped in a cab and I went back to Michigan Avenue or wherever Camel Methuen was. And we had a chat in the car, and he was a liberal arts major. He was an English major, which is what I was as well. So we had a lot in common. And I sent him a thank you note, and I sent him like a $5 bill in a
$5 bill. How nice.
in a little taxi cab package.
To pay for your ride.
Yeah, like a
Clever.
nice little taxi cab. It didn't amount to anything at Leo Burnett, but it was still a fun story to tell. And then that was sort of part of
And
the
you never talked to him again.
And I didn't. I probably saw him at a party or one of the events or something in Chicago. But
Well, just now, Thomas, just to pay off the story, you remember the story here years later? Did that get you to change course?
yeah, it was probably slightly formative in the sense that I was kind of like, a lot of my friends were leaving Lawrence and
Mhm.
going back to Minneapolis, not going to the big city, in
Yeah.
Chicago. And so I kind of was thinking, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. I maybe got to go and sort of restart or take stock. And as one does probably after college, a little bit like searching and wanderlust. And I went back to Minneapolis, back to home. And then that was probably a precursor to that. And then a lot of my friends were going back to Minneapolis too. So I kind of probably wanted to be around some of my friends I knew from college. And
And you
so
got an agency job somewhere.
yeah, and I went and well, first what I did was I worked at a radio station called Rev 105.
Rev 105,
Yeah.
today's rock.
Yeah, it was great. It was
No,
actually,
what kind of station was
it's
it?
kind of like the SoCal sound. It's like very much like in that
Oh,
vibe. It's sort of, it was
like
sort
The
of,
Wave? Or?
yeah, like the precursor to indie rock. And so I got to work on basically the marketing team there, and I would drive the Rev 105 bus, which was kind of a famous bus in Minneapolis. The smaller buses that you drive, and I handed out stickers, and at the same time I was working at Clarity Coverdale Fury, which was an agency there, and then at night I was working somewhere else, and
Oh,
then
wow. What a
yeah.
hustler.
Yeah, it was early hustling, I think. And then I just jumped into production. I lived in an area in Minneapolis called Uptown.
Sure, I know Uptown, made famous by the Prince.
Oh
I
yeah.
think Uptown was on his debut album.
Correct. Yeah.
And I actually had a screening of a film at the Uptown Theater
Great theater.
in the late 90s, early 2000s. Kind of a blur.
They're changing it now to something else, but it was, the Rocky Horror Picture Show would
Yeah.
play there all the time. It was
First Avenue was another club.
I think I saw some early, I don't know, many early indie movies there back in
Yeah.
the day with my sister. It's a great theater.
So you know what's interesting, Thomas? You're interesting. Your story's interesting. Except we got to work on the payoff for the guy in the elevator. He has to.
Yeah.
You got to rewrite the history. He's got to come up with like, kid, I'm telling you, go into production.
Totally.
Get out of Chicago, because I was waiting for that. Or he was going to, take you to his lair and show you.
Yeah.
I didn't know where you were going.
It's Hudsucker Proxy or
Yeah.
something like that, right? I mean, it's definitely a moment.
But I love that it did influence you, like those chance meetings, and that he had the the wherewithal to notice something in you that took you askew, right?
Yeah, and it was interesting because I think it was a shock that, unlike today, everybody knows everybody's face and name and
Yeah.
everything else. I knew his name. I'm probably not remembering it now exactly, but yeah, it was. I think it was Marshall Ross, like I said. But yeah, it was. So he was sort of surprised, like, who's this kid?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was in a suit, going to the interview and stuff. So, but yeah, it prompted me to go back home. And I think after all these, like those jobs I was talking about, the hustle, I just jumped into production. I mean, Uptown was kind of where the filmmakers were, where film production people were.
I
And
mean,
so,
it's funny because I think of Minneapolis as a bigger city than you are depicting it.
yeah.
And I think of production because I shot at Lee's Liquor Lounge, which is in Minneapolis. It's a bar there. I
Oh,
shot
I know.
at
I know it well.
the country radio station, like Star 102 or something, with Gino in the morning.
Yeah.
We shot there. We shot at a couple different. We shot at an ice rink, which there's a lot of in Minneapolis, and I've done commercials there with a really top-notch crew every time.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and that's the thing. I probably, because I grew up there, I probably talk about it like it's hometown and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a massive city. I mean, I'm representing a little bit here.
Yeah, look at that on the show. You're wearing it. If you're listening on iTunes, go over to YouTube and see the video we post. He's got the Twin Cities.
Yeah,
I would.
My retro, it's not retro jersey. It's their third jersey, I think, their third kit, or as they call it. But yeah, it's the Twins. But yeah, I got into production, and like you said, like you just mentioned, all the people I got to work with, I worked for free, like you do when you start. I worked on short films and music videos for all the stuff. I mean, there was a ton of stuff going on. You're right, and there still is, like industrials, and of course, a lot of Fortune 500 companies are there,
Right.
Best Buy and Target and
I wanna
3M
say-
and all that.
In the early 2000s, after I had had a couple of years of directing, got the feature itch out of my way with a handful of those, all critical flops, by the way. And then Burger King, the kids' meal account was out of Campbell Methuen.
Yeah.
And Ben Fruhoff, I was just talking about him to someone else. I mentioned him on the podcast, I think. He was a great guy, and he ran that account. He was the creative director and copywriter, and we just had a blast. They would come to LA and shoot, but that was my Minneapolis advertising connection. And that paved the way for Leo Burnett Happy Meals, which was like, I'm going to say, a 4 or 5 year run on and off out of Chicago.
Yeah.
Did we ever overlap there?
No, I don't think we did. Yeah. I mean, most of my stuff when I was really young in Minneapolis, younger.
Yeah, but you eventually went back to Chicago, didn't you?
No, didn't I? Well, so after production in Minneapolis.
Yeah, how did you get to
everything.
the agency?
That was everything. That's another. It's kind of like breaking it up, like this formative moment we've talked about with the Leo Burnett guy, right?
Yeah,
which really is kind of just a story, and then going back to.
It's a riveting story. Don't get me wrong.
Going back to Minneapolis, and then it was all production all the time, and I worked on features, and I day played on stuff, and I was a PA.
Did you ever act?
No, I didn't. I was in one PSA or something,
Gotcha.
like during some strike.
But you have
They
a good voice. You're a
threw me
handsome
on
fella.
camera.
I figure you carry yourself well. I could see you in front of the camera.
Who knows?
You're like, hey, orange juice, really? Whatever. So how do you get from production to the agency producing?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, everyone, all of us in Minneapolis, like you said, the crew. I mean, I'm still buddies with all those crew
Yeah.
guys, the gaffers and the grips and people that moved. We eventually just it's kind of like I'm going to go to New York or I'm going to go to LA. I mean, that was the decision. New York still had MTV and still had that whole machine, and then LA was LA, right?
LA, baby. Yeah.
And I was sort of deciding between those two, staying in the entertainment side of things. And I was like, well, what is it that I can do that's just here still? And I put my name out to all the agencies kind of again, but it wasn't in the account executive side.
Right. Well,
It
you
was
knew you would
in
learn.
production, you know what I mean? So Fallon saw me and Fallon hired me. And that was probably, I kind of was referring to it as like throw the baby in the hot bathwater moment. But I was a little bit older at that point. So I was like older, but
Hmm.
it was perfect time because I kind of seen some stuff production wise. But that was the best time to be there. I mean, now there's
Yeah.
a lot of famous people that are like Greg Hahn was there and
Yeah.
David Lubars was there and Brian DiLorenzo was there and just a lot of like mentors, Rob Van, a lot of mentors, people that I learned from. And so that was how I got in the agency side. Even my peers that are still in the business, we're still all really good friends, the
Oh, that's good to hear.
producers. And so I was there
Let
for
me,
about 5 years and I worked on tons of stuff, but that was like another indoctrination and it was in the advertising side, and I was it was the best time to be there. I mean, it was the Yucca brothers and like the Swedes were there and it
I
was
don't know the Swedes. Who are the Swedes?
it was Linus Carlson and Paul Malmstrom and they did a lot of that Miller Lite stuff back in the day and then it was when Citibank was there, the
Uh-huh.
BMW films were
Yeah,
done
that was huge.
and
Let
then
me
I
ask
did
you. Let
yeah.
me ask you a question before we go on, because brought you brought something to my attention. You said, the creatives, it was Greg Hahn and these people that have gone on to do great work and were doing great work there. You said they mentored me. They
Yeah.
took the time to teach me. And then I read on the LinkedIn's and the ad ages and just even in my Instagram feed, people complain about the lack of mentorship.
Mhm. Yeah.
From where you sit, has that eroded and why? And the answer can be no, it's still there, it's just harder to find.
I think what you just said, the answer is it's still there. It's harder to find. I personally haven't been at an agency for
Hmm.
10 years because I've been freelancing, but there's people that I talk to on LinkedIn and otherwise that I'm helping or mentoring. I mean, when I hired people when I was head of production at Garage Team Mazda for a bit, the people I hired there are still people that I've mentored and carried it down. But
That's great to hear.
to answer your question more clearly, I guess, is I think it's just there's been a little bit of a shift. Obviously, I mean, I was in awe of a lot of people that I was working with when I was working at certain places, but in the best of ways, they treated you like a human being. And I think there was probably an era where people kind of felt like it was good, or directors felt like it was good to be kind of a jerk sometimes,
Aloof and yeah, and a
aloof and like, I'm not going to go
jerk.
to Video Village or whatever. But I think there's a little bit of Minnesota with Fallon too. Obviously, it's the Minnesota nice thing, but
Hey,
also,
howdy.
yeah. And I think that especially the producers that I worked with there, Judy Brink was one of them that was great. So everybody really kind of cared about your experience
Oh,
and
that's great to hear.
yeah. And I think,
Midwest charm.
yeah, nowadays it's just, it's not fast, cheap, and out of control or anything like that, but it is, I was doing 30s and 60s and 15s, and this was more broadcast based. And now I'm doing TikTok and Instagram and social and, Instagram reels and understanding the metrics
Hmm.
and understanding the KPIs and understanding all of that. And I think there's something interesting about how fast things go and how there's maybe not enough time or space for some of the mentorship. But Yeah, it's definitely different. I think people are searching for it though, like you said. I think people really need it.
I'm processing everything you're saying. And I think there's also a component of young people coming up, whether it's through filmmaking and production, and maybe on the agency side, I don't know, except from my position as a director hired by them, what I witnessed, that they learn so darn much, so darn fast.
Yeah.
And it's a compliment. So filmmakers, like, if you were a director that also edited, which a lot of us had to learn to edit our own stuff or who was going to edit it for you. But now there's super filmmakers. And maybe with that comes a little bit, I'm projecting my own opinion, but it comes a little bit like, I don't need you, old man.
Just to quickly relate a story from a producer sense, like when I started at Fallon, I was like, okay, I've got to learn a lot quickly.
Yeah.
Everybody knows a lot of stuff. I took it upon myself. I tell this story a little bit too, where I'm sitting in the reel room, right, where the room where all the 3/4 inch tapes and all the
REEL
yeah,
room. Yeah.
REEL, yeah,
A lot of production companies
yeah,
had them, but you're talking about on the agency side.
correct,
There's a library. It's like a it's like a lounge with
yeah,
3/4 inch tapes or DVDs in your era,
yeah.
where you would just spend a few hours looking at work.
Yeah, it was a mixture of 3/4 inch tapes and reels, and it was all by all alphabetical order and all the directors, and there was, different categories. There was
Yeah.
automotive and food and all that. So over the course of and this was just the way, and
Yeah,
I'm
it'd
not
be like surfing the web for on
yeah,
YouTube or
and
Vimeo for
that's what
directors.
I'm yeah, that's what I'm kinda getting to. It's like I did that over the course of, like, a month. I would go there every weekend, and, it was also a time when you kind of worked, you know, 18 hours a day. Not
Sure.
not that that's changed, but it was kind of like one of those things, first job, it was like, the hustle.
Unspoken rule.
Yeah, and advertising back then and probably still now is very much like that in a lot of ways, whether good or bad. And I sat in those rooms and I put in everyone. And I had a notebook that I still have somewhere in my garage where I wrote down all the names and I wrote down what like sort of categorization and I gave them stars or a number system. And it was just sort of for me to gather knowledge. And there were DVDs, sure, but it was before that era. And then as I've gone along, now it's, Vimeo, it's YouTube, it's,
Yeah.
the source for a period of time and everybody had that, e-creative search and
Thinking about dropping that, by the way.
yeah.
I
It's
don't
a
know anybody that goes on. I go in to get still images for a
yeah,
treatment.
yeah, yeah. But it's become so what you're saying about like it's the burden of entry to be a filmmaker, the burden of entry to learn about being a producer, to go on these sites and learn about finding directors and everything's content now. Whereas back in the day, sure, there were specialists or there were food shooters or whatever. There still is, not don't get me wrong, but it's almost you're right, like you said, that it's almost like a lot of the younger producers, it's like it's assumed that they know a lot of this stuff because 'cause they're searching it out maybe on all of these sites. When I found a certain director for Taco Bell back in the day, this was I found him on Vimeo.
Mhm.
He'd never directed commercials, I think, at that point, and I
Oh,
contacted
wow.
him through Vimeo. We hired him for several commercials after that. It's similar today, now you just got it on your Instagram or you got it on your feed. You've got your, every production company has a Instagram. So it's just become easier on some level to know or to understand or to learn about the different people in the business that
But
can
to get
help
to that,
you as a producer. But then you've got to be more discerning because you got to
right.
understand, you know,
I was gonna say that
you know,
the super filmmaker or the super producer can rise faster at a younger age. I don't mean your years on the planet, but your years in the business. You can grow faster, quicker, but I think you're going to plateau without a certain mentorship.
Mhm.
I mean, I got a text right before we started recording from filmmaker uh, who said, between you and this other guy, I had reposted a career counselor type guy for directors. Between the two of you, I've learned more in the last month or the last few months than in 5 years. because and I pride myself on being an accessible mentor. And I find it fun. I wish more people did it. And I see a trend of people, older creative types on either side of the production or agency, wanting to help. And I guess I'm just unaware of the thirst that younger people have.
Yeah, I I'm in agreement. I'm trying to sort of think of the best way of saying it. I've gotten a lot of, if I'm not working, which this year,
Yeah.
for example, has
This
been
year
a,
sucks.
a
This
sucky
year
year.
sucks. Let's just say it.
2025, by the way, anyone's
Yeah,
listening
2025. You
in the
could be listening
future.
2 years from now going,
Yeah,
Thomas is working all the time. Look at
what
his
year is
Instagram.
this? Exactly. But I do hear sometimes that there, is a lack of understanding of certain things. I mean, as a
Mm-hmm.
producer, you're a creative nomad in your brain. You're nomadic with music. You
Mm-hmm.
understand business affairs, you understand legal, you understand cameras, you understand directors, you understand the set, hopefully. You understand the editorial process, the visual effects, animation, all of that stuff. So I mean, I could go on and on and on. And AI,
Should a should
yeah.
a producer, Thomas, be more of a generalist?
The age-old generalist versus specialist
Yeah,
question,
but
right?
but specifically, like with directors, my opinion, which is very narrow but correct, is that a specialist is going to go further in her category or specialty. There's a guy I'm friends with on LinkedIn, a creative, and he produces. Rob Baggett was on the show. Rob, if you're listening,
Yeah.
he says we're in the age of generalists.
Yes.
And I get it that we all have to look. I've edited behind the scenes. I produced something last week. I get it, but I'm still at heart a specialist. But I'm a director. For a producer, it feels like it might be more advantageous to everyone if you are a generalist. Not that you're going to physically edit, but you would know the editor to hire. You would know the DP to recommend.
Mhm.
You would know the sound houses, as you say. AI.
Exactly. I think at certain parts of your process, when you're, say, bidding out a job, you might add some specialist tendencies,
Mhm.
but especially if you're brought in for something where, Tom Anderson worked with PSYOP on, something, or worked with Mighty Nice on that animated project or whatever. So he has a special ability to understand that process or whatever. But yeah, I think, to say no pun intended, generally, you're a generalist. I think, and I think there's some value in being able to understand all of it, because you're going to be interacting with not only the directors and the creatives
Oh,
and
that's just a
the
blip
nuances
on
of
the
that,
clock,
but then
blip on the timeline.
you're also talking to the CMO. You're also talking
All right.
to the VP of marketing. You're also gaining trust with them, I think, as
What's the
well.
hardest what's the hardest part of your job as a producer?
That's a good question. I think it's all pretty damn fun, but it's and it the challenging parts are, I think it's understanding the creative strategy. Sometimes if the brief, sometimes it's like, let's make this, and it's not really clear what it's about, or what it's for. But,
Do you type up on those occasions? Like, hey guys, just want to point out, doesn't make sense.
yeah, I think I do.
That's called integrity.
When I was at an agency and head of production, I think I might have chimed in a little bit more with the comfort level,
Mhm.
because as a freelancer, you're there and you're supporting the team, and you might pull someone aside and say, is this right? Or, it's just a
Am
question.
I?
Yeah. And I think the great thing is engendering, like, sort of trust
Mhm.
with the creative team, and then eventually with the production team and all the people I've mentioned. But when you gain that trust as a producer with all of those individuals and everybody involved, because you're really, what you're wanting to do ultimately, besides the message and the problem solve and all of that, and understanding the why and the answer to the why and all those things we know from marketing, is you want to make good work that hopefully breaks through. It doesn't need to be a Super Bowl spot, it's something as simple as something on Instagram or an experience or an event or whatever the case may be. So it's it's gotta be good. And
Yeah.
I think that everyone do no one wants to make bad work, right?
Some
So I
people don't care though.
yeah,
I've been on set where someone, I'm not going to say the crew because a lot of times the majority of the crew want to do it right.
yeah,
Even if they don't even know what the commercial is for, they want to do the job right. And they'll say to me, like, did you get what you want? Did we give you what you wanted? I have heard on the agency side, like off in a corner, someone, can we just be done? Like, they're going to run it for 6 weeks and I hated it. They changed the script. Like, they're, bitter.
oh,
And I find my job then sometimes as a creepy uncle figure, pat him on the back and go, you know
creepy
what?
uncle.
This is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's with work, with life, I mean, not to be sound too grand, but my buddy Craig Finn, who I was in a band with, he's now in this famous band, The Hold Steady, and he has this album, and there's this song, his album, "Stay Positive," right? And it's all,
Mm.
and I think I try to bring that as much as possible to
Every
set
time I've run into
that
you
the
publicly,
production. Yeah,
you have such a great attitude, and I always love chatting with you. I
yeah,
think at the last thing I ran into you at that shots thing, I was like, okay, we know each other. We got to mingle.
yeah,
We've
totally.
been talking too long.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. We've been talking too long. But and what I mean by that, it sounds maybe like a mantra or sort of trite, but ultimately there are going to be those people. They're going to be like, you know what, the social's more important than the TV spot, or whatever, because they're putting more money against that than
Right.
this. But it's all important. It's all important, and there are going to be those moments, and there are going to be everyone, to be fair to everyone involved, it can be rough.
Mhm.
When you're doing things now versus when I started. I mean, when I started, you'd have 4 months sometimes to do projects. I mean, now that's like so much more of a luxury than you can even imagine. Now it's like 2 weeks is like, like I get calls about stuff and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, well, we're shooting in 2 weeks," or
Four
whatever.
4 weeks is the sweet spot for me,
Yeah.
but not as a. I'm not on the producing side where I
Yeah.
have to put as much together, but to get a brief on a Monday, pitch it later in the week, treatment if needed, early the next week, an award, off to the races, casting locations, tech fittings, shoot, hand off the hard drive, stay in touch with the
Totally.
editor, done. Like that 4 week gestation period is the sweet spot.
Is that your soup to nuts kind of thing, though? I mean, doing all soup to
That's
nuts, or you're
that's
handing off the hard drives to the editorial company?
I like to stay involved
Yeah.
all the way through post until I'm told to politely just stop.
Yeah.
And people say, we want you involved. And then after the first round, I'll give notes and they're like, okay, you don't hear from them. I don't push it. I told, I do these seminars, these boot camps, right?
Yeah.
And I have a module on called Whose Baby Is This? That the director
Totally.
is the midwife for the agency and the client who going to have a baby, and your job is to deliver the baby. And the editor is the one swaddling the baby and cleaning up the placenta. I just brought it,
No, it's
out of
great.
the bathtub if it's a water birth.
It's a great
And
analogy, yeah.
I had a director, and she's so talented. And I recently ran to her, and she goes, I said, I remember your face. She goes, you just changed my whole paradigm shift on how I look at it. Because you get mad. A lot of directors, especially newer directors, get so pissed, Tom, at the cut, and they fucked it up. And I told them, and I'm doing this, and they should have done
Newer
that.
directors are getting pissed at cuts being
Yes, yes,
really?
you're being facetious. He's
No, no,
making
no,
an
no.
eye roll.
I'm actually not being facetious. I was actually kind of
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh my God! It's the talk at all
Oh,
the
really?
parlor. It's what we talk about in the parlor at the parties.
Interesting.
They fucked it up. They used this take, and I tried to show them. I
Maybe I just
even
don't hear it.
No, you don't hear it because it breeds bad blood.
Yeah.
And when I said this at the boot camp recently, this very talented director, Marta, shout out, she said, "Yeah, now I get it." And if you realize the system is that the editor has game, and she's going to bring a layer of creativity. The producer is really the cartilage from prep to production to post. The creatives may burn out, but there's usually a creative involved with the edit, even more hands-on than they were in the production, right? Because you can sit on a couch and try so many versions. Listen, we don't have much time left. I want to talk about Different Gravy, your
Yeah.
production company. Why did you start a production company?
I think that basically what I started it during the pandemic. So I started with a friend, Tim, and then a couple of other people. It's a collective.
Mhm.
There's some element of almost like feeling like a salon of people if we're thinking about
Beautiful
the old
work.
style salon. But the idea is that it's a collective, and we would hopefully, gain work, um, commerce, and then do some art as well.
Mhm.
And it's a group of people that it can be fit for purpose and bespoke to whatever project. And it goes beyond production. The hope is that if you come to me, or if you come in and I can put a team together and maybe do the whole thing soup to nuts for you. And
Could
and
be
I'm talking
experiential.
about like creative all the way through the end.
Yeah.
So
You'll
it's
bring in creatives to create a campaign and a
yeah,
strategist. Then
yeah.
you'll produce it. Then you'll do the activation at Times Square with the billboards.
Yeah, talk about generalist, right? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, the
but yet
idea.
kind of a specialist.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's some. It's not unique anymore. Maybe a few years back. I mean, there are other production companies that do this kind of thing. So, I like storytelling. I understand that, and a lot of the team members or people that I collaborate with are the same. But
Yeah.
there's also just like quickly solving problems. Like a friend of mine has a relative startup, and it's a socks company, and it's pom poms on socks called Double Palm, and
I love it.
she's from Minnesota, and I'm gonna shoot my daughters, and I'm gonna work with another guy who's gonna shoot stills, and we're gonna put together some social contents and some other elements and stills and all that stuff, and then hopefully do a couple of different things. That's the latest project there. We haven't done a ton of stuff through Different Gravy, but the whole idea is that hopefully the ideal is that I'm a dual threat. I mean, we got to work. We got to
Yeah.
pay the bills, and
No, I applaud it. In
yeah,
fact, I didn't know about it till we were at that event and you mentioned it, or it
yeah,
was on your lanyard or something.
yeah.
How does Different Gravy get work?
I think it's just similar to probably what my freelance producing. And the idea is that it's relationships.
Word of mouth and relationship.
It's
Yeah.
all about relationships. I mean, everything in this business, work, jobs, freelance, working with people. It's a cliche maybe, but it is definitely about relationships. And that goes just not for
Oh,
California or LA. It's like all the people in Minnesota. I have friends that have other production companies in Minnesota, like and I love working with them or talking with them about possibilities about, can I do production service
right.
for you in California, or can I be, somehow help you get crew, or can I work on the creative portion of it with creative people that I'm working with. So yeah, I think it's all about that. But I mean, I do love LinkedIn now more than I used to. I think it is a little bit doom scrolling at times, but
Yeah. It
it's
blossomed in the last
in the
8
last
months, maybe, year.
8 months, I think I like sort of just going out there and being authentic, and like you are, and just saying, hey, I'm out here, not just like the waving, but like telling stories and also relating some things that kind of as a producer or as a human being or whatever. I mean, it's not the Facebook of business or the Instagram of business in a way, but it's definitely those, and this is a buzzword too, but those solopreneurs are out there
Yeah.
all over the place. But I think it's important to just, tap into the people. I mean, there might be a moment where I'm freelancing at an agency or at a brand, and they're like, we need to do this thing. And I might be able to just provide the ability for them to work with Different Gravy or something like that. Not to be like schizophrenic about it, because I've got one role when I go to places at times, but
I
it's a
I
good
like
thing to have in your quiver, as it
an
were.
arrow in the quiver. I like being schizophrenic. I am definitely there are days and I do the podcast. I don't know if you can see it. There's a commercial directing film school
Yes.
up in the logo, and there's the logo for the podcast. I thought
Exactly.
about changing the name to the Film School Podcast.
Filmmakers Forum LA. Filmmakers Forum LA. I've heard about that too.
I'm not a part of that, other than I support Tony Franklin,
Yes,
one of the founders, and Ryan, his buddy,
I
that do it. And I've been there.
I promised to drop the name in the pod.
Oh, to Tony, yeah. By the way, anyone listening, I think it's the last Monday of the month. They have the Filmmakers Forum. It's at this wonderful bar, and they have great cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Mess hall, yeah.
Mess hall, that's right.
No, I mean, I'm interrupting your flow. Sorry.
No, that's a podcast, man. We're flowing. There is a spot on the different gravy. All the work is great. My favorite is an Audi spot. It's in the top right corner when I go on. And it's like your Christmas husband is giving the wife a red Audi for Christmas.
Oh, that's the Jaguar. Yeah.
Jaguar, sorry, Jaguar.
Yeah. So, I mean, as one does when you start a company, right?
Yeah.
You put up the work that you've done. So it was something I produced, right? And it's on my site. But yeah, that's the Jaguar spot. But you were explaining it. Sorry.
Well, what I love about, and I'll post it at jordanbrady.com with this blog, and I don't know how to post on YouTube. Like, I can't embed it into this YouTube video.
Yeah.
But I'll put a link. And I love it. I think it's a 60. And the wife gets in the car and she goes, "Why are there so many miles on it?"
Yeah.
And you cut to the husband, and like I did a spot where the wife said something, and it's the same kind of setup. The husband's looking through the window, and I'm like, "Oh, I know this bit." But you cut back and forth between him and him driving it in the mountains, in the woods. He comes back from taking a piss. He's going over a bridge. Like, it's so wonderfully epic. And it keeps cutting back to his reaction that's silent. Like, he doesn't know what to say. And then, spoiler alert, it ends with him just kind of smiling, and the kids get it, and she lets him off the hook. The craft is premium, as we say. The performances are great. The people are attractive, which I always like, whether quirky, attractive, or traditional. And it's just a great spot. And I think it showcases both the director's work and the production.
Yeah. It was good. It was fun. I did that when I was at Spark 44, and it's a great fun spot. It's called Joyride, right? And it's like it's his recollection, his memories of some of the stuff he's done on his day and his journey when he picked up the vehicle, I guess, basically. So it was fun. I worked on it with some great fun people, and yeah, I've had I love what I do. I mean, I probably have too much stuff on my site right now. I got to curate it down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, from the PBS work I did way back in the day when, I got a few kudos awards for that, which was great. And it's not all about that though, it's about, again, like I said earlier, making really good work with good people and just good humans. That's what is the joy that I have in collaborating with people. So it's just been great. I mean, I think you've reminded me of something though,
What's that?
As we kind of go on in our career and we're moving to different things or working on starting production companies or kind of diversifying ourselves as humans, is mentorship. It's important, you know what I mean? And being there for people that are the new creatives, the new filmmakers, the new I've found over this year, which we said 2025, kind of sucky. I've been going to, doing that, going to a lot of events and meeting new people. And we've mentioned a couple of the things we've gone to and seen each other. And it's pretty great, because everybody's still stoked to do stuff. It's just like weird. And I think everybody still wants to do creative stuff. I mean, even the AI that's out there, I'm taking this course at this Curious Refuge.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, it's really good. And
you told me and a few other people, and I kind of signed up, but I haven't had the time to come in.
I dropped some coin on it, and I just decided to do it because I'm like, I want to, not only just as a producer, but there's cool, interesting things you can do. And I think, as I learn more about it and learn more, I know that with the whole discussion about it being a tool and all of that stuff, but It's definitely a tool, and it will be able to be utilized in the best of ways by humans that can create, great work with it and or augment, live action. I think there's this company that I follow called Moon Valley, and
Oh
a
yeah.
lot a lot of their stuff is licensed, right?
Yeah.
And, they have this company called Asteria Film Company, which is, Natasha Lyonne's, company, and it's they're working in this space, and I think, I know it's the buzzword of 2024, 2025, but, it's it's exciting to see. It was for a minute there, I was like, "This is like the printing press for me," in terms of
Yeah.
existential crisis, but, as a producer, because I'm like, everybody can create all of this stuff that I do, but they can't,
Well, they can't, and they need a producer. I
Yeah,
Speaking of
and a
LinkedIn,
director, yeah.
they I met Sherry Horowitz, who's going to do an interview with me on LinkedIn, and now I follow her. She's just a delightful human, but her AI conjuring is amazing, and I've added some of her work to the TrueGent website. You can learn more at truegent.tv. And agencies come out and have already come out. Like today, there was an email, hey, just kind of learning who's fluent in AI. I've used it for my Instagram and LinkedIn posts with the hybrid method.
Yeah.
I did myself with two AI characters acting, which I think the hybrid method is going to creep in and be very popular.
But you're doing it with your sense of humor, right? When you put that
God willing.
model that model guy up there, that you do, and it's fun.
That's new this week.
Yeah,
I did a model of myself, and I tried to get it to look like me, but it's like it's a younger, handsomer version, more handsome version of me with abs and pecs and a
well, that's the funny
blazer, no
thing.
shirt. I'm going, this is a gift from the gods.
That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
What you're describing, Sherry Horowitz and all of these
Hmm.
people, Dave Clark, and there's just
Yeah,
like
Dave Clark's
Ari
amazing.
Ari he's kinda more sci-fi, but like Ari Kushner, who's at Missing Pieces, he does stuff too with like Trump and all this stuff. And, I really just noticed that what you're describing though is like it's the Jordan Brady twist
It's a
on it.
point of
It's
view.
the Jordan Brady point of view. So
Oh,
I
thank
think
you. You're
I
very
mean,
kind.
that's the thing, I saw, Greg Hahn and Jeff Goodby talking at, Cannes when they were talking a little bit about this, right? And it's interesting because now Mischief has started
The
a
Candy
whole the
Factory.
candy factory, and you gotta get into it, and you gotta
When
understand it, and you know what? I also, because of my posting on LinkedIn, there's producers that I'm friends with, or maybe not, that are like DMing me there or finding my number or whatever, and saying, "When are we going to have like a agency producer like forum on
Yeah, that's a
LinkedIn or
great idea.
otherwise about AI?" Because a lot of people are writing me and saying, "Have you gotten? I want an AI producer," or that's the job description already. And I mean, it's interesting. Like Jason Zada, he has
Yeah.
secret level, and
I
we,
saw
yeah,
a prompter ad this morning or last
yeah,
night on LinkedIn and it said not a big cash cow. And I think I would say I was putting stuff on my website 2 weekends ago and getting some stuff from Sherry, and I had collaborated to go
yeah,
from image to video, video to ad, like
yeah,
put a wrapper around it and everything. And we handled post, and we're doing that with some more, like almost like spec ads. And then that I don't know if it was that weekend I saw it or that Friday they announced the Candy Factory
yeah,
at Mischief. Like, oh, that's like if you can't join them, how are you going to beat them?
yeah,
Or at least plug in and work with them. I don't mean the Candy Factory specifically,
yeah.
but all agencies are going to have the AI person in the closet down the hall.
Absolutely. And there's these on LinkedIn, so many different ways you can see people, whether genuinely or disingenuously, like over the last year, they're throwing in the word AI into their description and all this stuff. And I think that's fine. It's just you've got to, like you're saying, it's like doing spec work and understanding it and showcasing what you can do, and showcasing, like you described, that there's I think it's John Finger is one of the other
Oh,
guys
yeah, John
on
Finger.
it.
He's an alum
He
of the film school. He's
Yeah,
amazing.
he does stuff where, he's doing, like, live action stuff, like, I'm
Oh,
moving my hands, and I could turn into a bear and then or a gorilla or whatever and do all that stuff. It's interesting how there's this interaction. So, what I love is the fact that the first concern I think everybody had was sets are gone,
yeah.
everything's gone. There's no more grip, no more gaff or whatever. I think it's never going to go to that level. It was interesting. I saw this article today from the director. I'm going to forget his name from Everything Everywhere All at
Oh,
Once.
yeah, the Daniels.
Yeah, and he was it was Variety, I think, but it was on his Instagram, and he was just like, he was really like, let's put a halt to this. Like, let's put the brakes on this and have like a real heart to heart, almost like conversation, like creatively between
And
all of.
copyright infringement? Because I saw the Matrix
Yeah,
scene on the Instagram on the bottom of the frame, and on the top of the frame was Neo and his mentor underwater
yeah,
doing the same thing. I'm like, well, that's cool. That's really cool. But if you didn't have Neo,
yeah.
then
Would it
well,
break through or would it be
yeah,
cool or
like, oh,
whatever?
it's a guy doing kung
It's
fu
the same thing with the
underwater.
stormtroopers. I mean,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think that's why companies like, and I'm sure there's others, and I know that everybody's creating a new AI version of this or a company that services this, and
Well, it's going to be plug and play soon.
they're all trying to get you subscription, 29.99 or whatever per month. But Moon Valley and those companies
Yeah.
are licensing things, so they're trying to do it. I guess that's the right way, rather than it being like scraped from the world.
Well, we'll find out what Lawrence Fishburne says about his underwater.
Yeah, exactly.
Thomas, we have to wrap up.
Yeah. Sorry, were
When
you gone too
no,
long?
this has been great. No, this has been great.
We didn't even talk about Prince.
We didn't talk about Prince, but
No, I know.
we had a who was on about a month ago who shot a lot of Prince videos.
Scott McCullough.
Scott McCulley, yeah.
Yeah.
So we and I had a Prince story, but he blew mine away. His was great.
Yeah,
I met Prince in
I
Minneapolis.
slept overnight at Paisley Park many
Oh, that's a great one. Many a night?
many a night, rather than driving home in the middle of, deepest, darkest winter in Minnesota, driving home from Chanhassen. And
He
I
says
mean,
just stay here, or that was a given you
well,
were allowed.
he didn't say it, but we did, because we didn't want to wreck our cars, and
Yeah,
like
right?
fall asleep at the wheel. And it
All
was
in the waters of Lake Minnetonka?
I've had yeah, exactly. I've had it, he was another formative bit. If I could go back on this podcast and say, let's talk about this.
But
No, no, I'm
this
kidding.
has
Like
been a wonderful
the free
free-form
flow. Yeah.
conversation. My agenda was find out about you and your origin. That's always interesting. How you got into the agency and then agency side to producing
Yeah.
and then
We did.
mentorship came up. Yeah, we covered all that. Mentorship was a lucky bonus.
Yeah.
And we'll do another follow-up with Prince. We'll do a Prince-only episode.
Yeah. And then in my last LinkedIn post that got a lot of impressions was the AI cannot throw a burrito. So that
Yes.
was an interesting one too, because I had a director kind of
Chuck one and
chuck one at my feet, luckily, but it was just one of those things. You can't repeat that doing AI. You're still gonna have those happy accidents that happen on set. You know what I mean?
and the happy accidents and the synergy between electrons in your body and electrons in her body and his body as a crew, I think adds a little something magic. Like, where is the magic going to come? Like, in my case, the AI brought the magic with the shirtless, male model.
Yeah, totally.
That was a great happy accident. My thing with AI is I know when to quit. I know that, like, if I
Yeah,
get it right the first time, I don't care that he has one leg on his pants. I'm done. I'll crop it out. I'll, add something. But here, the show is
yeah.
called Respect the Process. Okay, so think about that. First of all, where do you want people to go when they click on Tom Anderson? I'll probably spell it out, Thomas Anderson. When they click on that, do you want it to go to your website
Yeah, you
or
can
do you
go
want it to go to
to
Different Gravy?
thomasandersonproducer.com. That's a big long
Yeah,
URL.
they're just going to click your name, buddy.
There you go. Click on that, and then my production company is Different Gravy Films.
We'll put them both on there.
Different Gravy is my little Anglophile British slang love, and just because of my love of all things British and English. But yeah, either one of those. And
Okay, and then
hit me up on LinkedIn if you want
I'm gonna put you on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna put the Jaguar spot.
Yeah.
So
We can
here's
do,
the
we can put that one up, and maybe we can talk about another one too. Who knows? But
well,
yeah, for sure.
we're gonna do a sequel because you and I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
go on forever.
Yeah, I
So
know.
answer this question.
Yeah.
This is the last question. Then we're gonna hang up. What does respect the process mean to you?
I think it's just understanding everybody on the team has a goal. And as a producer and sort of the creative general contractor, you're putting that team together and just trying to help it get to the finish line.
Mhm.
And I think understanding that there might be some differing goals from different people, but you're just trying to collate that. And really, it's just, I mean, literally, the word respect, the fact that that's in there is important because you have to respect opinions creatively, or if they're divergent at times. It's definitely part of just working collectively to make great work.
That's a wonderful answer. Thank you for being on the show. If you have any questions, listeners, you can hit him up. Just go to this is going to be on LinkedIn and iTunes and Spotify, and you click his name. It's going to take you to his website with all the information. It's been a joy. I wish we'd have shot on set together, and I'm looking forward to making that happen somehow. I'm putting that out there in the atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Well, thanks for having me and appreciate it. Really fun to talk to you.
I'll talk to you later.